Hey, Brian. Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Well, very excited to be here on Tuesday the 13th.
Tuesday. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
Tuesday
I
the
mean,
13th.
you know about all the different like horror movies and stuff, like Nightmare on
Yeah.
Elm Street, Tuesday the 13th, all these things. So let's kick it off with not scary stuff, right?
Yeah. It's a little premature
Yeah,
October.
exactly. I don't know what the cycle date is till this hits Friday the 13th, but yeah, then we can worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Hello and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 396, recorded August 13th, 2024. I'm Michael Kennedy,
And I'm Brian Ocken.
and this episode is brought to you by Scout APM. Thank you to Scout for their continued support of the show. Check out their link in the show notes. We'll tell you more about them later. If you want to follow us on the socials, you can find us all over on Mastodon. Links at the top of the show notes. And we are on X, although less active than we are on Mastodon, I would say. When you catch the live show, you can do that at pythonbytes.fm/live, and it takes you either to the old ones or lets you know about the new one if it's running right there. So we appreciate when people are there, but audio is always works as well. Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't know we were still on X, but
Well,
you're on X.
here's the thing. Oh, see, you're not on X anymore. Okay. Did you
I
actually
mean,
delete your account?
I have an account, but
Yes,
I
that's what I
check it
mean.
like every other month or something like that. So,
I still get notifications if people will mention me, and
oh,
I'll
okay.
I'll see it. But it's kind of the same thing. I don't like drop in and cruise through there as much.
Hmm.
I'd be happy on Mastodon, but there's just I would say 75% of the people that follow us, interact with us, at least through the show account, probably I didn't make the transition. So,
Oh, okay.
you know,
I should pay
goodness,
attention more. So, apologies to
still there
everybody.
for them.
Yeah.
We're still there for them.
Okay. Good.
That's all I meant by it.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's kick it off with your first item. What you
Okay,
got?
I want to talk. I think I covered UV, a UV article yesterday,
Yeah.
last
Well,
week.
it's the summertime. You got to be real careful about your UV index and
Yeah.
put on your. Oh wait, no, not that. I love
Oh my
UV.
God, we could put together a UV index. It'd be like the
That would be awesome.
Anyway, so I saw this article. Python packaging is great now. UV is all you need, and I'm like, I don't know. That seems like a little silver bulletish for me. Um, but I took a look at it anyway. This is from Juan Luis Cano Rodriguez. Awesome name and cool profile picture. Anyway, so UV, what is we like to bash on packaging, but it's just continually getting better, um, and especially with people like Brett Cannon trying to continue to make it better, it's going to, and people at UV, at Astral, making UV better. But what is this about? This article, I didn't really want to completely cover the article, but there's some pretty cool stuff here. So bootstrapping, getting a project started is difficult sometimes, or knowing what to do. And I've been using UV for making virtual environments, but and it's really fast at that. But I took another look at it. There's been some updates that I didn't know it did some cool stuff. So one of the highlights here is UV Python. It manages Python versions, and I'm like, what? It does what? So I went and checked it out, and so you don't even have to. So you can go down and say UV Python install, and it installs Python versions for you, and it's really fast. But you don't have to. And I'll tell you why in just a sec. Uh, you can, um, you can install it like that, but you can also say UV Python list, and it lists all the Python versions that it can find on your system. But if you say UV venv, so creating a virtual environment, you can give it a Python flag with a number, so you can do list to ahead of time, and it tells you not only what versions are there, but also what versions it has available. So you can uh, you can say, like, if you don't have 311 on your system, you can say 311 anyway, and it'll install it. And I'm like, does that really work? So I checked it out. I tried it. I personally, it said that it would just do it automatically if it wasn't there. But I had to add the Python. There's a flag called Python preference managed, and it's listed here somewhere. Anyway, Python preference managed. I
Dash
can't
dash
find it.
Python preference, and then you can say UV managed,
Yeah,
only managed, or managed system, or only system. Gotcha. Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Python preference, and but if you say managed, which is supposedly the default, but I had to pass it in anyway, it just does it. So I'm like, this is cool, and I installed like 6 versions of Python on my Mac yesterday in seconds. Um, and just to have fun to create virtual environments and it's just neat. So I only really need a Python with I usually use Python within virtual environments, so being able to just install one into a virtual environment is cool. What else can we do? There's other things that UV can do that like it can initialize PyProject.toml for you, and it sets up if you do a init, it sets up PyProject toml and a README and a source layout. It doesn't do a lot, but it gets you started. The thing that I thought was neat is add. So you can add the dependencies to your PyProject.toml with UV add, and so you don't have to look up the syntax for it. The other cool thing about it is you can give it the dev flag. You can say UV add dash dash dev, like you can say dash dash dev pytest, and it'll add pytest to your development dependencies, which is neat. So I guess I was going to
Okay.
say packaging is not solved with UV, but maybe it is. There's some pretty cool stuff.
This
Um,
is awesome. Yeah.
if you look up, if you say UV help, um, there's a whole bunch of experimental items through here. So there's run, a init add. A lot of these are experimental features. Tree is cool. You can do a project dependency tree using UV. So there's a lot of stuff that I used to use other tools for that UV is doing. So kind of cool.
I like the
Creating lock
self.
files.
Self.
What,
I like it.
what does self
Manage
do?
manage the UV executable itself.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there was a lot of drama, honestly, not on our show, but on the mailing lists when this was announced.
With
And
UV Python or
no, with UV pip.
UV pip. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so the reason that Charlie and team chose UV pip as part of the CLI interface as a subcommand was so that they had space to do all these other things. So if you just said UV install, well, does that install the Python thing? Does that install a
Oh,
package?
yeah.
Like, right? And so they put that in there as almost like a namespace for all their commands and stuff. And how much new stuff is under these experimental sections? Starting to feel like, okay, this is what they had in mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, the experimental part, like, makes me nervous to put it into my normal everyday workflow a little bit, but for personal workflow stuff, why not play with it? Um,
Yeah.
so,
As you're going through this and seeing this title, Python packaging is great. UV is all you need. I think it's all I use these days. I don't think I use anything else.
there are some systems that the whole especially with, certain firewalls that I know you can get around it with UV, but there are some systems that I work on where I have trouble getting, working with UV, but pip works
Hmm.
fine, so,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I have
But
basically 3 or 4, uh, maybe 4 or 5 aliases that are just like 2 or 3 letters that will do all the combination, like the full commands with this and that. So those used to be pip commands. Now they're UV pip with like the different parameters and stuff.
yeah, and I tried so when UV pip came, I tried to alias pip to UV pip, and same with virtual environment, but I realized that I kinda like control. I like to be able
Mm,
to use both, so I just sorta taught myself these UV commands. It's
yeah.
not so
Yeah. Sounds good. Not too hard, is it? All right. Well, I have a set of bookends around Python versions to start and end the show here. So let's start with Python 3.12.5 was out just last week. Came out right after the show was released, I think. So we didn't cover it, but yeah, here we have a brand new version of the most recent version of Python. And I just checked, by the way.
What?
Yeah. And I just checked with the UV Python list, and I think 3.12.4 is the latest there, just to give you a sense that, like, 1 week into it, apparently we don't have the latest. I was kind of hoping like that thing would be super cutting edge on top of it. So, but I wonder if you know what? It's possible that my UV is over a week out of date and it doesn't know, right? Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, 3.12.5 is out. And if you scroll through, I'm linking to the release notes. Sometimes it's hard to find like what is actually changed in, say, 3.12.4 to 3.12.5, because if you go to python.org and click on downloads, and a lot of times it'll just show like, well, here's what's new for 3.12. You're like, great. And from the last one that I had to this one was that. But if you go, you can find the release notes, which I'm linking to. And so there are a lot of releases and changes in just this minor point release. So we've got a bunch of tests that are fixed. How about that, Brian?
That's great. Yeah.
2 different security improvements, patches, I guess. You know, they're not, don't think they have CVEs, so they must not be too bad. But like missing audit events around certain behaviors. Like, okay, so you couldn't audit it properly, but it's not a, you know, all your bases belong to us sort of thing. Bunch of stuff in the library. So for example, a new version of pip. So for just a moment, just briefly, when you create a virtual environment, I won't say your pip is out of date. But things like this, fix crash when importing SSL after the main interpreter starts. Might want to have that not happen. Handle value errors raised by os.stat. Fix some error messages in Pickle. Here's one that's worth paying attention to. Fixed a seg fault in asyncio.task get coroutine. Okay. You know, a lot of times you think of, at least I think one of the really huge advantages of Python is when stuff goes wrong, your program doesn't just go poof and go away. It reports the error. It gives you a chance to catch it, right? You like this Python itself doesn't die. It knows something's gone terribly wrong and it shuts down, right? But if CPython seg faults, then it just goes poof and goes away. So there's a ton of stuff like this. So I just wanted to call people's attention to all the changes here. And there's even some that look like performance. For example, what was it? F strings. If you have an F string that has just one entry into it, I think it used to create an abstract syntax tree to try to build it up. And they're like, not really needed all that stuff for a single F string. Our F string with single entry in it. So, that's going to be a nice performance improvement as well. Was it a dash? How do they F string it? Yeah. So anyway, these are all good things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
F strings are even getting more secure, more faster, better.
Faster, better, stronger. We have the technology. We can rebuild it. Okay.
Can you even imagine going back to the time before F strings?
It was a dark time.
It was dark. It was a dark time.
My percent key still has no characters on it. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay.
And before we go on to the next one, you were probably going to give us some really awesome segue there. But let's talk about Scout APM before we move on.
Okay.
Let me tell you real quick about Scout APM. They're big supporters of Python Bytes, so we appreciate that very much. So if you are tired of spending hours trying to find the root cause of issues impacting your performance, then you owe it to yourself to check out Scout APM. They're a leading Python application performance monitoring tool, APM, that helps you identify and solve performance abnormalities faster and easier. Scout APM ties bottlenecks such as memory leaks, slow database queries, background jobs, and the dreaded N+1 queries that you can end up if you do lazy loading in your ORM. Then you say, oh no, why is it so slow? Why are you doing 200 database queries for what should be one? So you can find out things like that. And it links it back directly to source code, so you can spend less time in the debugger and tailing logs and just finding the problems and moving on. And you'll love it because it's built for developers by developers. It makes it easy to get set up. Seriously, you can do it in less than 4 minutes. So that's awesome. And the best part is the pricing is straightforward. You only pay for the data that you use with no hidden overage fees or per seat pricing. And I just learned this, Brian. They provide the pro version for free to all open source projects. So if you're an open source maintainer and you want to have Scout APM for that project, just shoot them a message or something on their pricing page about that. So you can start your free trial and get instant insights today. Visit pythonbytes.fm/scout. The link is in your podcast player show notes as well. And please use that link. Don't just search for them, because otherwise they don't think you came from us, and then they'd stop supporting the show. So please use our link, pythonbytes.fm/scout. Check them out. It really supports the show. Definitely. And over to you, Brian.
Alrighty. I want to talk about talks a little bit. We haven't brought up talks for a while, I don't think. But there's an article on Victor Reimark's blog about compile and use dependencies for multiple Python versions with talks. And it's kind of a neat idea. I use talks for incorporating it with GitHub Actions a lot to be able to, and just locally to be able to test multiple Python versions and multiple versions of different libraries, how they work together. Talks is great for things like that. But one of the things that I didn't think about was doing compiling pinned list or lock lists for dependencies for multiple Python versions. And so this article walks you through kind of why you would want to do that, but then also how to. And the little trick here, which I think is cool, is that Talks uses a environment name called the env name. And so there is a way to be able to use that to look at the Talks environment that it created, because it creates little virtual environments when it's running. But the neat thing about that is you can use it other places. And the idea around this was to go ahead and use this article uses pip tools, but really I think you could use anything. But to target a compile like a pip tools compile and send it to, using pip compile and using pyproject.tom as the base file, and then outputting to a requirements env name, which is or a env.text or a env-dev.text. So you could do like a requirements file essentially with your environment specified in it. You could, in this example, it's using a directory, pumping them all into a requirements folder with a directory. But you could also do a directory, and then I also like to have a requirements dash whatever. So even if I had them all filed into a directory, I usually put something like requirements dash 312 .text or something like that. But having that be able to specify it from the project allows the little trick to be able to say, oh, here's an example of with the requirements dash. I like that a little bit better. But to have a requirements target within Talks, so that you can use that to compile your project, compile those, and while they're running, you're instead of like in CI or something, could grab those, and instead of generating a just whatever it can find, it's a pinned or a locked set of dependencies. It might be a little bit more consistent. So that locally, the idea would be then locally, when you're testing yourself, you can say, hey, I'm ready to update my dependencies. and then it regenerate the all of the dev files, and then or all the lock files, and then later, uh, when CI is running, it doesn't look up dependencies. It just like knows the fixed links or the fixed versions. So kind of a neat idea. I wanted to highlight that. I also wanted to highlight this because I like this idea, but I want to do it with UV. And I'd like to I think I'll play with this. But if anybody else has time to play with this and see if they can get it working with UV, I'd love to see the outcome. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I imagine you can, because if it was using pip tools, it's
yeah,
got the pip compile behaviors in
it shouldn't be
UV as
that
well.
hard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this looks great. I love it.
What do you got for us?
Let's close it out with something dark. I did tell you it was the 13th, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I present to you this is not exactly a Python thing, but I feel like this is anyone who builds web apps or other types of apps and interacts with users, sort of thing. So superset, if you will. So I present to you a catalog of dark patterns for software.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It says, discover a variety of dark pattern examples sorted by category to help you better understand deceptive design practices. So there's some that you probably would know, like bait and switch, and each one of these has at least one concrete like case study of evil, of badness, of darkness, let's say. So the bait and switch one, which says, this tactic lures users with an enticing offer only to change the terms unexpectedly. So they've got a lift, 60% off. Wouldn't you like 60% off of your next ride? Just click here and sign up, Brian. And then once, actually, your next 2 rides, that says right here.
Yeah.
But then actually, as you try to apply it, it turns out it only counts towards 60% off the first $10. So if you like went to the airport, it was $50. It's like, well,
It's still
44. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. So
Huh.
that's not ideal.
No.
To me, the classic bait and switch is the cable companies for internet or anything. Like, don't you want to add like a home phone, like digital phone, and then you can add like the sports package, and it's only $5 more for the first, for the first 6 months, and then it's like $150 more.
So I had one just like yesterday. I had an email from my cell phone provider that said, since you've been here like so many numbers of years, we're going to give you 10% off. I'm like, that's cool. And I clicked
Yeah,
on
why
it
not?
and it was 10% off any of your case purchases. Like,
So shady. So shady. So that, I mean, people probably know that one, but there's other ones that are interesting. Like one that I really like is the Roach Motel.
okay.
So
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
well, what is that? Oh, it's this dark pattern usually used for subscriptions, making it easy to sign up, but nearly impossible to cancel. So there, you can't. There's not like a just unsubscribe us button. You've got to call somebody and they try to talk you out of it. Like, I mean, hat tip the cable companies again on this.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
one click
so many ways.
subscribe. But if you want to cancel, please come down to our office during the hours of 4 and 3.
Exactly. And if you don't get through the line of people backed up trying to get out of it, then you'll too
Yeah.
bad. Try again the next week. So there's a bunch of these. I'll do one more, just that people can go play with them. Disguised ads.
Oh, I thought it was disgusting ads, disguised ads. Okay.
Disguised ads, which are themselves disgusting, but the pattern is disguised. So Microsoft Edge, for example, and I feel like Google, this is towards Google Chrome, like a thing towards, I feel like it's also kind of reverse a lot of, like, Google does that as well. Like, wouldn't you rather use this instead when you search for something? Anyway, I'll give you the example that's on the page. So you may encounter not one, but 2 dark patterns when attempting to get Google Chrome onto your computer when you have Microsoft Edge. This happens when you have an empty install of Windows. You have Edge installed, but not Chrome. I feel like installing Chrome itself is a dark pattern that you should just avoid. use Vivaldi, Brave, Firefox, something else. But anyway, that's not the point. There's two here, and the first one is disguised ads. The second one is confirm shaming. And so this is like a good case here. So if you go over to google.com/Chrome in Edge and you go to the like the where you get to download it, it literally has a built into the browser pop-up that comes out of the menu bar, no, the address bar rather. It says, "I hate saving money, said no one ever. Microsoft Edge is the best browser for online shopping." Just by literally visiting the Chrome page, you get this pop-up that's like integrated not into the HTML, but into the UI of the browser.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that's shady. That's one.
I kind of love the boldness of that, though. Actually, but
I know. And then if you go to Bing, I believe this, which is the default search engine, and you just search for Chrome, you get some results. But then there's like this other part. Oh no, this is actually in the start menu. This is in the start menu. So if you type Chrome, you like try to run Chrome, there's a half of the whole start menu says try Bing wallpaper. Switch to the browser recommended by Microsoft. Download Edge.
Dear. Oh
dude, that's rough. Yeah. So what's cool is it says, look, here, like it kind of highlights the various patterns that are here, and then like other companies that do similar patterns. Anyway, I think this is interesting reading. I think figuring out, like, just being aware of this stuff. So if you're involved in building these things, you're like, hey guys, people are going to not like us. Could we do this a little bit differently? You know, sometimes marketing will win, sometimes developers will win, but
so are these dark patterns or or maybe growth hacking?
Yes, is this our yacht? Or is this a dark pattern? Could it be both?
What could I incorporate these into? No.
Yeah, hashtag you win if you can get like all dark patterns.
Oh, that'd be fun to try to.
It'd be good growth hack because then you could appear under every category. It'd be like some like link
free advertising.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
this is what I got for you. Kind of interesting.
Nice.
Extras? You got any extras you want to share?
The extra I wanted to shout out was just I think I have my recording done for Hello PyTest. The only thing left to record is the summary at the end. There's a few things I want to, like one extra video I want to record, but I want to edit everything first. So I'm in the process of editing and keeping track of everything so that at the end I can go, hey, we went through all these things. I want to make sure. Actually, the thing that I have left is I want to review all of the command line flags that I use in the course, but I don't remember all the ones I've used. So I'm writing them down as I'm editing. So
nice. Anyway. That's awesome.
But I'm on track for August 19th. A few people have ordered already. Thank you so much, everyone that's ordered so far. So love you. My wife loves you. We went out to got coffee off of money we got from this. So
beautiful. Yeah, available for pre-order now.
Yeah. What you got?
I have just a couple things. Django 5.1 released. So big deal here is easier guardrails for authentication, because having people access stuff that was supposed to be authenticated but isn't is bad. They didn't say that. That's my words. The new and shiny login required middleware is available, which enforces authentication for all views. Yeah. Better screen reader support, better HTML semantics. The second oldest ticket is now fixed with a long-awaited query string template tag. So these things are all good. And let's see, was there... No, I thought there might have been a CVE or something in here, but I don't think so. I saw Django CVE not too long ago, security deal, but it doesn't seem like it's addressed with this one. So it must have been fixed previously. All right. So that, and then here's the bookend. We started with 3.12.5 being available. Well, how about Python 3.13 looking forward with release candidate 1 is out. So this happened a little bit ago, but if you're out there and they say, please test, if you have a package, especially a popular one, please test it with Python 3.13 ahead of time so we can do stuff about it. And you're like, oh, it's betas. I'm not going to take the trouble. I'm not going to worry about it. Well, it's now officially stable in terms of features, right? They're not going to add or remove things ideally unless they absolutely have to. So you should be able to properly start putting energy into testing and playing with this one. And this one is a big deal because this is the first free threaded Python, which is going to have significant effects on runtime behavior, not just does this
Yeah.
API still work, right? So it's going to be worth testing with this one.
All those other versions of Python, you have to pay for threading. This one's free threading.
Yeah, it's awesome. Finally it's free. You just have you have to pay by buying other machines and running copies
Yeah.
on them to get parallelism.
No, so I was hoping that UV Python would have 3.13 there, but it doesn't yet. So we'll have to
Yeah, that would all right. UV team out there
just
listening.
Astral. Come on, Astral. What are you doing?
Exactly. Let's turn UV Python into like this is how I get the freshest Python, which is actually one of the things that's a little tricky. Like
Yeah.
homebrew, it takes a week for that stuff to show up and other stuff. Yeah.
A week. Yeah. Who wants week old coffee? Anyway.
No, no. Your threads are totally stale by then.
It's a goofy episode, man.
It is. All right. I know you got the joke for us this week, so take us
Okay.
out.
Well, actually, before we get onto this, I was just thinking because you wanted when you were talking about Django, I thought of a new of a dorky joke. So, what do you call a 17-year-old insect? A minor bug.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, so I saw this Ars Technical is it Ars or ARS? I don't know. ARS Technica.
I say ours, but now you say that, I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone
Pronounce it.
pronounce it. So
Okay.
I'm going with
Well,
ours because it's lowercase.
Ars
ARS.
Technica had an article parody site Clown Strike refuses to bow down to Cloud Strike's bogus DMCA takedown. So there's an article here. I wanted to check it out myself. So if you go to clownstrike.lol and we'll refresh it, see if it starts out looking like CrowdStrike, but it has a little goofy hat on it. And then if you I'm not going to play the music now, but if you play music, it's got like some goofy little music that goes along with it, and there's a clown. That's it. It's just funny. Now if you click on the left, it tells you about all this. Well, it tells you the ARS Technica article, but it also talks about this story about how they had these takedown. CrowdStrike tried to take him down, and it's just silly. There's some other stuff here too that I think is just hilarious. Like the Scam Advisor lists ClownStrike LOL as highly trusted, might be safe. It's like nothing there except for just this goofy little picture. And but there are some other stuff in it. You can read the whole story and all the letters about or all the emails back and forth about the takedowns. And actually, there I was surprised to find out that they had to like Cloudflare was was hosting this, but it like accepted the takedown at first, and eventually backed down, but after it got moved. But I'm surprised that it got taken down so fast because obviously this is a parody site, and parody is protected. There's no way like even a cursory look at this, anybody would think this is a realistic
Yeah, it's not trying to
violation.
impersonate it or anything like that for
Yeah,
sure.
no, just making fun of the situation, and I think that they just probably, I mean, they really should have just ignored it because now Clown Strike is known, and we're talking about it, and Ars Technica is talking about it anyway.
Exactly.
So
It's the Barbara Streisand effect, right?
yeah, so
Oh boy.
anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat sympathetic to CrowdStrike,
are
but
you?
this is a bad look. if you've got to write native code that runs in the kernel, like the smallest mistake, and it has to be like updated within hours of you learning new information. I don't know. It's tough. It's apparently it's one of the best antivirus systems out there that actually works and isn't just, you want to talk dark patterns. Like a lot of this antivirus clean your computer stuff is really shady. But boy, did they cause a problem. And I would not want to be in their shoes.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, couple weeks of shame over you get billions of dollars to pay for that shame. So
Yeah, I think they're going to get a lot of lawsuits from a lot of angry Fortune 500 companies. And even if they win defending them, it's going to hurt them bad. If it doesn't kill them, it's going to hurt them bad. So,
okay. So
yeah.
sympathies out there for somebody.
Some a little bit, but I feel like they've certainly earned this website. And wow, I didn't know LOL was a top level domain.
Yeah, it's
It makes
funny.
me laugh. Yeah, it makes me laugh.
Wonder what that what it is. What, is it like a country or
Is
something?
it literally lol, like laugh out loud, or is it because they're like .pizza is the top level domain as well, which just seems wrong.
Oh, does seem wrong. Really?
I think so.
I'll have to check that out. Like pepperoni.pizza and like Hawaiian.pizza.
Honestly, yeah.
Pineapple.
Maybe we need to get some domains.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing this. This is great.
All right.
Thanks for being here like always.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.